Hello, I'm Jenny Luscombe and I'm a facilitator of healing and a passionate advocate for self-healing. So I'm just about to do my show on holistic radio, which is usually 5 till 6 p.m. UK time on Mondays. So it would really help me to help others if you would like, share and subscribe. Um, if you share the video with somebody that you think it could help, that would make me really happy. So today the show is all about translating your body's voice. So the show today is about how by not dealing with our emotions and our mental body, the beliefs that are limiting us, we are making all of our problems physical. So we're making our emotional and mental issues physical in the body by not processing them. So our body calls out to us in the form of physical symptoms. So there's actually a language that we can learn, which is very literal, but sometimes it takes a bit of investigation to understand it. So I'm going to be talking about that today. Thank you for tuning in. Hello, this is Jenny Luscombe, and this is Feeling is Healing, and this is episode 35. Today we're going to talk about translating our body's voice. So I haven't always thought about physical symptoms as being the voice of my body, but it's developed over time and it fits with everything that I believe and that I've kind of figured out myself and from paying attention to lots of other clever buggers who talk about healing. So I'm going to do a bit of talking to start off with, and then I'm going to answer a couple of listeners' questions about their bodies. And then anybody who comes on the live, if any of you guys want to ask about your bodies and physical symptoms and things that you have that you might want to shed some light on, then let me know at the end. So I believe, as a result of my own experience with my own body and with my clients' bodies, I believe 100% that if we had been taught to tune into our bodies when we were kids, and we were taught to know and understand how to receive and translate what they are saying through their sensations and physical symptoms, then basically we wouldn't have physical pain, we wouldn't have physical disease, including degenerative disease, including autoimmune disease, including, age-related illness. So anything to do with aging. I don't think we would have aging. I don't think we would have obesity or eating disorders or addictions or even ADHD. I don't think we would have mental health issues or limiting beliefs. I also don't think that we would have social problems. So I don't think we would have socioeconomic problems. I think the world that we're in, I think also if we were taught to tune into our bodies sort of from day one, we wouldn't have created a world that has war and scarcity and oppression and control. So I think if we were taught to tune into our bodies when we were kids, we would have a world without all of that. We wouldn't have any of it. We'd have a world without inequality. So this is quite a claim, and a lot of people think that I'm a nutcase for thinking this, but it just makes sense to me that trauma is at the root of everything. So we are spiritual beings having a physical experience in these bodies. So our bodies, in my opinion, are our subconscious mind. So our subconscious mind is a storage facility. It's not actually in our head or in our brain, and it's not an inaccessible kind of esoteric concept that we can't connect with. It's actually very, very easy to connect with our subconscious, and we're actually doing it all day long. We're just not recognizing that we are. So, our subconscious mind, which is our body is a storage facility where we have put things that we didn't want to see, and that we didn't want to hear, and that we didn't want to know, and that we didn't want to experience, and that we didn't want to feel. So we've put things that we weren't ready for in our subconscious mind, in our body, things that we didn't know what to do with, especially messages that we got about ourselves from other people, or messages that we got about our parents that we didn't want to accept as well. So our subconscious mind is a storage facility, but it's also a storage facility for beautiful, magical, and incredible aspects of our true selves that we actually had invalidated by other people. So the truth of us in a positive direction, the magical version of us when we were in our bliss, when we were in our true selves, in our gifts, often that was crushed out of us or intimidated out of us or beaten out of us when we were kids. So there are positive aspects within our subconscious mind stored in our bodies, and there are negative aspects within our subconscious mind stored in our bodies. So our bodies are an archive, kind of like a car park or a waiting room, a storage facility. So in the spiritual community, there's sometimes a tendency to get out of body. And if we're traumatized, which we all are, again, there's a temptation to get out of body and to go up to the stars and to check out, But we've chosen to be in our bodies. We've chosen to be having a physical experience. So at this point on the planet, we've shoved so much into this storage facility, which is our body, which is our subconscious mind. We've piled it up and we've stuffed it in, and we've let the dust gather, and the parasites and the spiders and the shadows. And we forced the doors and the windows shut, and we've boarded them up. We've nailed it down. We've locked all the doors, and we've thrown away the keys and the spare keys. And we really don't want to look. And now we're pretending that none of it is there, and we're trying to get on with our lives, and we're wondering why our relationships are dysfunctional, and we're wondering why we don't know who we are, and why we don't know how to help our children, and why we don't know what to do with we don't know what to do with our lives, why we've been hijacked by the bad, the bad guys, and why we've been brainwashed and taken from on a monumental scale. We're wondering why we are emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and physically sick, and we don't know what to do about it. When we've done all of that to our bodies, and we've denied it and suppressed it and pretended it's not there, we feel embarrassed about it. We feel triggered about it. We think no one else has that storage facility with everything rammed up to the rafters. Everyone has. And there's no shame in it. It's just human. So we weren't taught what to do. And this is the situation that we're all in. And all of that stuff, it has to become physical for us to become aware of it. So by the time something becomes physical, it's a complex and chronic issue. So not only is our subconscious and therefore our body a storage facility, it's also a tape recorder stuck on a loop, telling all the old stories of your life, and also all the old stories of your past lives, and the old stories of your prenatal experience in your mum's womb while you were experiencing what she was experiencing, and also the old stories of both of your ancestral lines, and in particular, the unresolved stories, all of the unresolved stories with misunderstanding, or question marks, or there was a lack of explanation, there was a lack of completion, or possibly there was a decision point where you decided something about yourself because something bad happened to you. That just wasn't true, which is why there's a lack of resolution. And it just wasn't true what you decided about yourself. And it continues to hurt you that you made that decision. So we've got loads and loads of baggage, loads of lack of resolution kind of type scenarios. So here we are, and none of it is going away. So the good thing about all of this is that your body loves you, and your body keeps loving you even when you hate your body and you push it away and you blame it. And it loves you even when you abuse it with drugs or alcohol or cigarettes or bad food or the wrong environment or the wrong people. Your body loves you. And basically, its job is to lovingly hold all the unresolved stories of your life until you're ready to listen and to see and to know and to move towards it and to acknowledge and to feel and to understand yourself. So humanity has reached this point where all the feelings, the emotions, the memories, the beliefs, the traumas have all been coming up to be seen and pushed down again, and then coming up to be seen and then pushed down again so many times that they've become physical in our body. So if you kind of think a thought enough times, it has to become physical in your body. And when you're stuck on a loop, you're not actually dealing with that thing. You're kind of paying attention to the message, but you're not completing the circuit. So our physical problems are the unexpressed emotion from the unresolved. And that's what our physical symptoms are. So our symptoms, whether they're emotional, mental, or physical, are always 100% of the time your body calling your attention to something. And there's a lot of layers. And it just makes sense that we have resistance to looking because we put all that stuff in there for a reason, because it was hard. It was hard to look at. So the problem with not looking is that because your body loves you and it wants you to pay attention, it's giving you these messages, it's speaking its voice through your symptoms. If you don't look and you don't pay attention, then all this stuff that you've stuffed in there just grows in the form of new symptoms. So when you get more and more symptoms, that's your body just shouting louder and louder because it loves you, and it just keeps shouting louder and louder. And then more and more symptoms come. So you see this particularly with autoimmune disease. So everybody knows somebody with autoimmune disease, and maybe they, go to the doctors and they get something for one of the things, so you might have colitis, and then you might not be able to deal with that because you haven't got to the emotional root of it. And then you might get eczema, and then you haven't got to the root of that either. So you keep the colitis and the eczema, and then you get psoriasis. And then you didn't get to the root of those, and then you get fibromyalgia. And it just keeps going on, and there's millions of autoimmune diseases. So I would recommend, whatever your symptoms are, you need to find ways to connect with your body. And when I say connect with your body, I mean dialogue. So you need to get a conversation going. So I would recommend EFT tapping. Tapping is the best way that I know, but there are lots of different ways. I'd also suggest getting a copy of Louise Hay's book, You Can Heal Your Life, which has an amazing list in the middle of the book, which is incredible and famous. And lots of alternative therapists like me, we use her list not just for sort of a heads up and a starting point when we get clients with physical stuff, but also for confirmation, to confirm what we already had a hunch from looking at a person's symptoms and from talking to them. So before I sort of have a flick through that list and sort of tell you what that kind of consists of, I just want to say something about autoimmune So I sort of think about things like this as common knowledge because I've been on this path for 12 years. But I was talking to somebody the other day about autoimmune disease, and I realized people don't know. People don't know what that is. So obviously, and it might not be obvious, the word auto means one's own. So autoimmune, to translate that, means one's own immune system. So if you have an autoimmune problem, you are there's something on in your body where you are attacking yourself. So there's lots of different ways that this will happen in the body, but there are parts of you attacking parts of you, thinking that it's some kind of external invader, like a pathogen or a bacteria. So why would we do that? Why would our bodies be doing that? So 100% of the time, your body will be attacking you, or the tissues of your body will be attacking the tissues of your body, or your blood cells will be attacking, um, because you are blaming yourself. You are criticizing yourself. You're having self-attacking thoughts on a loop. So you might be quite surprised by this if you have autoimmune disease. You might be surprised by it because you don't realize you're doing it because you're doing it all the time and you hadn't recognized that you were doing it. So if you have any autoimmune symptom, ask yourself if it's true that my self-attacking thoughts are causing my symptoms. What is it that I'm saying? And you might need to ask another person because a lot of this is going on a sort of subconscious level. If it is, if you are attacking yourself on a subconscious level and you can't see that you are, ask a person close to you, ask them, if I had a self-attacking voice, what kind of things is it that I'm saying to myself? Because they will be able to see you do it. Because a lot of people don't realize that what one person suppresses, the other one expresses, and then what you express, the other person suppresses. So this is the design of the universe. We can all see each other's issues, but sometimes we can't see our own. This is why relationships are the best thing on the planet to heal ourselves with. So even if you have difficult relationships, they're still a boatload of messages from the universe if you know how to translate those. So all autoimmune problems, which the world is full of, everyone's full of them, is us attacking ourselves. Now, why would we be doing that? We're doing that because we've internalized the voice of a parent or a teacher or somebody in our life that was influential. So when we were a kid, we didn't want to see the truth of our parent who was criticizing us or disapproving of us. We didn't want to make them the bad guy because that would have made us very unsafe. So we internalized it. And sometimes, especially if we're empathic, we will also internalize the problems of other people and blame ourselves for those, thinking that everybody's problems in the world are something to do with us. um, so you're not going to hear that explanation from your doctor or a pharmaceutical company. But once you know this, you will change your life because you can't go back. You can't go back once you realize that it's you doing that to you. Um, so I'm just going to tell another story before I look at Louise Hay's list as well. Um, this story kind of highlights how paying attention to symptoms sometimes confirms what we're going through. Sometimes it's a flag waving that if we knew how to translate our body's voice, we would get messages like way earlier than like letting things get out of control. So I had a client who came to me for EFT tapping, and it's a client that I know really well that has been coming for years. And this particular session, she came about, we were working on some early childhood stuff where she was the victim of some bullying that was going on within her family. So somebody in her family was bullying her, and her mum was kind of turning a blind eye because her mum didn't really know how to face that or what to do. So my client as a child was experiencing this sense of not being listened to, not being recognized. Like whatever she said to her mum, she felt kind of fell on deaf ears, and then she made that mean things about herself. So it's basically a lack of being feeling important, a lack of being significant enough to listen to, a lack of being recognized in the circumstance that she was in. So she had lots of unmet needs because of this situation. So we did a session working on that. And as a sort of aside, we were having a chat after the session, and she said she didn't know why, but she'd been having loads of nosebleeds, and that was weird for her. She hadn't had nosebleeds for ages, but it kept happening. And so I sort of at the time didn't really think there could be a connection. But anyway, after the session, I looked up nosebleeds in Louise Hay's list, and it said that the nose, generally the nose, that part of our body, represents a feeling of not being recognized. So that sort of rang bells in my head because I'd not ever needed to look that up before. So it was kind of a piece of information that I didn't know. And then now, since I know that, and it kind of confirmed what was going on in her session, she wasn't recognized. She was asking for help, and she was not receiving help because of an issue that her mum had about protecting her child against this family member. So I let my client know about that. So she continued to work on this issue with tapping, which she knows how to do because she's been coming a long time with me. And the nosebleeds stopped. And she then threw away the medication that the doctor gave her because she was having a lot of nosebleeds, because she recognized that it was connected to this emotional kind of psychological trauma response that was coming up to be healed. So that was a miraculous thing. So Louise Hay, she was working in an alternative way with her clients for years, I think 20, 30 years, and it was her life's work. She was a tapper, actually. She used EFT tapping and lots of alternative modalities. And she was doing it for such a long time that she started to notice that clients of hers had thought patterns in common. So she was working on beliefs and thought patterns, and she realized that often the same thought pattern that people shared would often lead to very similar symptoms. So she just started to keep a log of this. And then over the years, she built this huge resource, which we now use today. And I've been using her list for a long time, but I've also taken it a step further and started to use the body code modality, which I've only been using the body code for a few years really, and I've been having millions of revelations about what our bodies are telling us. So I'll go through some of them with you. So first of all, if we sort of have a little flick through Louise Hay's list, what she's done is she's got like an A to Z of things like physical symptoms like Addison's disease, the names of conditions like alcoholism, AIDS, aging problems, acne, So she goes from A to Z, naming all these conditions, cancer, fever, hyperactivity, so not just physical stuff, but also emotional stuff. But she's also got in the list parts of the body, like the nose, or the feet. Even like she goes down to sort of the fingers, but also naming the fingers individually, the index finger, the middle finger, the little finger, the big toe, all of that. So if you have very specific symptoms in your body, then that's going to be your body's voice. It's going to be your body trying to tell you something. So I'm just looking for an example now. So acne, for example, she's got next to that on her list. The probable cause is the thought pattern of not accepting the self, dislike of the self. And then next to the problem and the probable cause, she's also got a new thought pattern to replace the old one. So I would say that going straight to the new thought pattern isn't going to work, because I don't think affirmations work unless you deal with the root cause. And I don't think it's enough to just know the root cause. Um, Finding out what the root cause is amazing and miraculous, and it's a brilliant start to sorting out your issue. But what you need to do when you find out the probable cause is sit in contemplation with that and ask yourself, if that is true, that my symptom is being caused by that thought pattern, how is it true? And where in my life has that come from? And what does that make me feel? What are the emotions of that? What else is that making me feel about myself? So go on a little thought journey with it. Use tapping with it. Contemplation and just opening your mind to looking at your physical condition as something that you can heal yourself through contemplation and through, guided thinking, intuitive thinking. You can solve these things in your body just by going there and just by asking yourself questions, and especially by tapping, because tapping is a tool that you can use to get to the root memory, and it's quite easy to do. And basically, all you have to do is figure out, ask, just go online, look for where the meridian points are, and then use those meridian points in sequence, or even just one of them, to help you tune into your body, to ground into your body, to just pay attention to the sensations in your body, pay attention to what you're thinking about, get really focused on the thing that you want to explore, and then just let your intuition and your body guide you. And paying particular attention to the sensation in your body is a really good way to do that. So I would highly recommend Louise Hay's list. I'm going to just sort of talk about a couple of things that I've noticed about the body code as well, a few messages that I've got through that. But I'm going to go to people listening to see if we can bust some of your symptoms wide open and give you some information about that. So, for example, with the body code, I've been using muscle testing. So somebody will come with a problem, and then I will muscle test and ask questions. So for this client, this problem that they've come with, do they have trapped energy in their body that is causing this problem? So they may or may not have a physical symptom, and usually there's emotional and mental stuff that goes with that, or it will just be emotional and mental stuff without the physical symptom. So whichever way around it is, I'll get a yes, there is trapped energy causing this problem. And then I use the body code system to identify where in that client's body that problem is being held. So, for example, if the skeletal system of the body comes up, I might be directed to a particular part of the skeletal system. So the hips, for example, every single time hips come up, I know that it is as a result of a lack of support. So probably in childhood and probably in their current life. So if that's the right side of the body, it will be connected to masculine energy. If it's the left side of the body, it will be connected to feminine energy. So, think about people that you know that have had their hips replaced. It will be because of a lack of support, a chronic lack of support in their life, probably from starting in childhood. Anything else to do with the skeleton is, in a general way, going to be connected with, if you think about what the function of the skeleton is and what that does in your body, it protects you and it supports you. It literally helps you stand. So often bone issues or breaks or, like brittle bone kind of stuff, can often be as a result of feelings of not being protected, not being supported in the ways that you needed. Um, Anything to do with the skeletal system in terms of the legs and feet, quite literally, is often about walking forward or standing in your truth. If you think about the hands and the arms, again, quite literally, this will be about how you handle life or how you embrace life. And I remember actually the feeling of when I first heard this kind of thinking that it is very literal, your body is very literal. I remember thinking that it was ridiculous. I remember thinking that can't possibly be true. And it just seems kind of too simple as well when you think about doctors having to go and do their university thing for such a long time as well, like, and it's all so complex, and like, how can it possibly be true that you can just look very literally at your body and just know these things? I mean, like, here's quite a complex one that I was working on myself the other day. So I was working with clients and kind of working on difficulty receiving, when people find it difficult to receive. So to receive the support that they need from others, to receive the support that they need from the universe. And sometimes we get a bit obsessed with this on the spiritual path. And I thought about myself and my own situation and my own childhood. And then I thought, when I was a kid, I had a difficulty receiving, but I also had a difficulty giving. And knowing what I know now about the key to abundance is actually giving. So the more you give, the more you receive, the more you give from your heart without kind of asking for what you need back, kind of in desperation and scarcity, like just giving from your heart because you want to and because it makes sense to do that, and giving in the way that works for you is how to manifest abundance. So I was thinking about this, like, when I was a child, I had a parent that was impossible to please. And me and my sisters and the other parent, we were always falling over ourselves to please this person, and this person was never going to be pleased. So that set up in me a pattern of difficulty giving. So I asked myself the question, how is that still affecting me now? So I kind of looked at what I'm doing in the world, and like, one thing that I do find hard is I sometimes find it hard staying focused on social media and giving in that way because I'm not techie. I'm not a techie person. So I actually find that a block to me getting my information out there. So I have this difficulty in giving. So I thought, right, okay, I've never actually worked on this properly before. So I thought, okay, I'm going to muscle test. So I muscle tested and I asked the universe, I asked my body, do I have trapped energy in my body that is causing me to have a difficulty in giving, which is coming from not being able to please that parent, and I tried every which way to please this person and they were never going to be pleased. Yes, I got a yes. So what actually came up was my spleen. So this is a part of the body that hasn't come up much in the body code. So I had a little read of the explanation. So your spleen is part of the immune lymphatic system, and there's a lot going on with your spleen. But basically, sort of to whittle it down to something simple, is it's kind of protecting us against invaders, pathogens, bacteria, all of that kind of thing. So my body, when I was a child, was perceiving this impossible to please parent as an adversary, somebody difficult outside of me. So I got trapped energy in my spleen from trying to please this person. But it wasn't just my spleen, it was my stomach. And I thought, well, this is interesting. So my stomach, as part of my digestive system, I wasn't able to be digested. So, and it sounds insane. It even sounds insane while I'm saying it now. But I suddenly clicked. I was like, oh, So because I couldn't give to that person, I wasn't being received in the way that I needed to be received. I couldn't give. It was impossible for me to give in the right way for them. So I was never received. I was never digested. So if you think about your food that hits your stomach, if you have like difficulties like with digestion, so if you have indigestion or if you have any issues with your stomach, then it could be as a result of a difficulty giving. And it's kind of like seems like a tenuous connection, but when you really understand the way that your body communicates with you, it just makes sense. And then I thought, wow, so this has been something until I got it out and realized the other day, this was suppressed within me, this notion of I've got this stuckness around giving. So now that I've like pulled that out and I've worked on it and I've released that energy, it's no longer suppressed within me. But I have actually in my life manifested loads of people with stomach problems in relationships. So I've dated men that have got stomach issues. Like my mum has got stomach issues. People around me have got stomach issues. Now, that is something that the people external to me are expressing. So the law of attraction, physics, how it works is if people around you are expressing something, you are likely to be suppressing that thing. So by me healing that thing, this issue with my stomach, which was my body talking to me about a difficulty giving, being digested by other people, by me healing myself, that on some level is going to heal those people that are external to me because that's how physics works. It's insane and it's amazing all at once. Um, so Kevin and Jackie have asked me a couple of things about symptoms. Um, Kevin has asked me about skin. So after losing weight, when you've got the sag, when you've got saggy skin, um, the skin is actually part of a system in the body called the integumentary system, which you don't really hear about very often, but it includes your skin, your nails, and your hair. And in body code sessions, this comes up all the time. And um, you don't necessarily have to have a problem with your skin, nails, and hair for it to come up in a session, actually. So the explanation in the body code book says that the integumentary system, if this comes up for you, is basically where the body will store trapped energy from, like I kind of said before, like there's an external presence in your environment that you need protection from. So your skin, nails, and hair kind of acts as this separation between you and this external difficulty or this external bully or this external whatever it is, this difficult thing in your environment. So the skin, the nails, and the hair, that system of the body is often where we trap a huge amount of emotion. So I would say to Kevin, do a bit of research about that system, but also work with your emotion about the saggy skin. So how does it make you feel? Um, Work on those emotions because that is definitely a temporary issue. Because if you think about it, when women have pregnancies and then they go back to their normal shape after giving birth, most women don't actually hold on to that sag. And that's kind of a long time to have your skin stretched around a baby. I don't think that that saggy skin needs to be surgically removed or anything like that. I think that your skin has a consciousness just like the rest of your body. And your body consciousness is actually a thing. And even parts of your body have their own consciousness. It sounds a bit bonkers. But I'm not the only therapist that tunes into separate consciousnesses kind of within the body. But think about that because it is kind of like a lot of people on the spiritual path who do healing work do lose weight. And it's often not as a result of dieting as well, interestingly. And when I first started to do healing work, I lost weight without even trying. And I didn't even really need to lose weight as such. Like I had like a bit, probably an extra stone and a half or something like that. And I didn't do any extra exercise or do any dieting, and it just fell off me. So that kind of suggested that the weight was some kind of protective barrier that my body had put there, um, in a similar way to what the integumentary system does. It kind of traps energy as a form of protection against that external difficulty. But yeah, I would work on the emotion, Kevin, about how that makes you feel. And I think by sitting with that and contemplating and using some tapping with that, that it will just transform itself. And it might sound impossible, but I think it will. Jackie, I'm not sure if Jackie's here, or she might be here, but I think she might be on her way back.
I've got a question, if you don't mind. Just
Yeah, go for it. Hi, is that David?
Yeah.
Hi.
So I understand it. So if someone was going in crisis with adolescence and they start sweating and start slurring their speech, and then you have to give them portrait, is that it? Is there part of it is where it's finding the balance, going forward and not panicking in that situation, so mentally you're well, and it helps improve that situation that you're in. And is that what I'm understanding? Am I kind of in the way you're tapping into the body book and things like that? It's just got more of an understanding of yourself and your body.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't hear what you said at the beginning. Did you say with sweating and panicking with a specific thing, or
with Addison's? If someone was in crisis with Addison's.
Addison's, yeah. Well, I mean, I think that panic in itself is actually a symptom of not processing emotion, or kind of like chronically trying not to feel emotion generally, because I think overwhelm and panic is a sign from your body that you need to start kind of looking at the emotion, working on the emotion. I mean, in Louise Hay's list, she suggests that yeah, she says severe emotional malnutrition next to Addison's, which is kind of just what I said in a way. Like if you're malnourished emotionally, you're not looking at the emotion. You might be rejecting it or disowning it or suppressing it. She's also put anger at the self as well. So a lot of people who don't process emotion, or they sort of get stuck in the experience of trying not to feel, will be angry with themselves for having the emotion, because they probably have a belief system that that emotion generally is wrong, or it's weak, or we shouldn't express it. There's loads of messages that we would have got from parents, possibly, because they didn't know what to do with their emotion. They taught us that we should just hide our emotion or bury it or pretend it isn't there. So I think Addison's is an expression of just not looking at the emotion, not processing it, not having good emotional hygiene, basically. Does that make sense, David?
Yeah, I'm with you on the level. I kind of know where you're coming from now. Thank you.
Yeah, oh, you're welcome. So Jackie's asked about oral health and foot health. So I'm not quite sure specifically what exactly she wanted to ask. Maybe if she comes on, she could say. But foot health. Hi, Jackie.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can, yeah.
Okay, because I'm in the car.
Oh, right.
I might have to start driving in a minute.
That's all right.
Specifically, gum disease for the oral, and for the foot health. Um, I can't explain it, but all that hard skin that even if you do a pedicure, never leaves. The toenails so hard and, they start splitting, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, yeah, that's interesting. Okay. It's funny that you've mentioned gums. So I'm gonna just look that up on Louise Hay's list. I had somebody the other day working on, when through aging your gums like start to recede and all of that. I'd never sort of asked anyone's body questions about that before, but I was asking on behalf of my client's body the other day, and the for gums, it came up as the connective tissue. So the connective tissue, like that can be tendons, discs, ligaments, and I haven't thought of the gums in terms of connective tissue because it's where, the tissue is connecting to your bone. So ligaments and tendons are either where your bones and muscles are connected. Um, yeah, I can't remember. I never remember which way around it is, but yeah, the gist of it is it was the connective tissue that came up um, for the gums. And I was thinking, okay, so quite literally, if you think about connective tissue and what that makes you think about, it's probably to do with connection. So I then went on to test, does this client, because she has an issue with the gums, is this quite literally, is the root of this coming from a connection issue, with family members or with parents, kind of going back to childhood? And it was. So if there was like a situation where you felt like you couldn't connect to a parent, or there was something off with that connection, or there was difficulty there, and maybe generally in relationships, you might feel like it's hard for people to connect with you, or it's hard for you to connect with them. There's a lot to sort of sit with. But if you think about the gums as being part of the connective tissue, and then think, okay, how does that relate to me in terms of connection? You can actually go quite deep with it because if you think about connection, and the body really is this literal, it could also be connected to your own connection with yourself and even your connection to God. It's crazy what level you can take it to, but I know from experience and from working with clients that going down these rabbit holes just clears these symptoms up overnight, and people's gums can start to go back to where they were, even though they were receding. It's bonkers. So yeah, think of the gums as connective tissue and think about that in terms of connection. So I'll just have a look at what she says about gum disease. Um, I think I've looked this up before. Yeah, so she says gum problems are an inability to back up decisions, and yeah, kind of that feeling, sense of being wishy-washy about life. She also says about teeth generally are often connected with decisions. And I think like going down a rabbit hole about teeth is really valuable because if you think about indecisiveness and wishy-washiness, it always goes back to us suppressing ourselves as children. When we were kids, and our parents disapproved of us, we had to shut down aspects of ourselves to be what they wanted. Like, even if we had a good upbringing, we would have had to do that. So it just makes sense if you zoom out that, if you've shut aspects of yourself down because you have to people please your parents, that when you become, you go off into adulthood, if you never fully resolved or kind of reconnected with the parts of you that you suppressed to please them, you don't really know who you are. So when it comes to sort of indecision and deciding what direction to go in life, even to the point of who to have relationships with, what work to do, finding your purpose. It makes sense that you will have difficulty around that if you never fully learn who you were, because you had to shut yourself down for someone else. So this always comes back to codependence, which I always bang on about, because it's key. So yeah, anything to do with teeth and gums, think connection. Also think about decisions. Um, so the the feet. Hmm. So the feet are quite quite literally. She says it represents our understanding of ourselves, of life, and of others. So I'm sort of taking what Jackie just said literally. So if you think about the hard skin, if you have hard skin that's kind of quite stubborn and you can't quite get to the bottom of why it's there, or how to be free of that, then it could be about like kind of there are layers around me, unwanted layers around me that are preventing self understanding, or understanding about quite literally how to walk forward as it's your feet. It could be something to do with your direction, putting your best foot forward. Um, it's kind of like, I call it playing in the energy. So look at the function and purpose of the parts of your body and what they do, what you do with them, what they kind of represent. I mean, I think with the toenail thing might be connected to like an athlete's foot situation, because I read somewhere that it's so common, like even if you don't have the itchy kind of where the skin peels and all of that, sometimes people have a version of athlete's foot where it's like your toenails thicken. Sometimes they kind of go, yeah, like a kind of yellowish. Um, so if you think about what that is, like athlete's foot is like a fungal condition. So if you think about fungal, like what that is really, um, if you think about kind of mushrooms need to grow in the dark, that there's this kind of like stagnation energy, and um there could be something there around sort of neglect, emotional neglect. Because I had like a really stubborn athlete's foot infection that I had literally for years, and I couldn't get rid of it. And I kept working on it. I kept working on it. And I knew that the universe had given it to me to so that I would learn, and it was on my right foot. So I knew that it was probably something connected to my dad. Um, and men generally, relationships with men. So I kind of connected that with like a feeling of emotional neglect, because I feel sort of like my dad didn't stand up for me enough, and um yeah, there was like a sense of neglect, kind of stagnation, but also um because it was my right foot, I kind of connected that with masculine energy. So if you look at the divine masculine, then part of the divine masculine energy is action. So, action is what we need to do to manifest what it is that we're looking for. We have to connect our hearts, our minds, and our bodies. So we have to, with our body, we have to walk forward into action. So I kind of think that and I don't have it anymore, actually, the athlete's foot thing. And it's only quite recently that it's cleared up, but I did look at it every which way. I must have worked on it like 25 times, doing different things and thinking about it in a different way. And actually tuning into the itch helped to trigger quite a few memories. And then it triggered a memory that I'd forgotten all about, how when I was a kid, I cut my foot open on the beach. Um, and that I think was my right foot. There's also with feet, there's the notion of standing in your power. There's things like you could, on Louise Hay's list, you could look up very specific issues with feet. For example, bunions. Louise Hay describes bunions as being a manifestation of a lack of joy meeting your life experiences. There's loads. Oh my God. That I really do believe 100% that we can bust everything wide open through contemplation and through tapping. And just before just ask if there's anybody else wants to ask anything, that like something keeps coming up with the body code, and I feel like I need to say it on the radio. There's a a valve in the body which Bradley Nelson has included on the list of organs for the body in one of the body code charts, and it's called the ileocecal valve. Now, this valve is very prone to holding trapped emotion, and doctors don't know this information, and they will not think it means anything. They'll just think it's ridiculous. But the reason that I think this is important is because I had a client the other day who had she'd had her appendix removed. So she'd had a surgery connected to lots of symptoms that I kind of diagnosed through this system, that it was an imbalance in her ileocecal valve, which was trapped emotion. So if she'd had that trapped emotion removed before going to the doctor, she might not have needed a surgery. So I always think that surgery is unnecessary, because I've had so many clients that have had surgeries gone wrong, and they've come to me for emotional support regarding the surgery's gone wrong and how they're in a worse situation than before they went. So the ileocecal valve is part of the digestive system, and it's basically function and purpose of it is to keep the toxicity from the fecal matter out of the bloodstream and the rest of the body. So it's kind of like a sphincter muscle. Now, if you have an imbalance there caused by trapped emotion, then the fecal matter is going to leak into your bloodstream, and it's going to cause all sorts of things like IBS. So a doctor will tell you that you've got IBS for life. And a doctor told my daughter that, who is 15 years old, and I was absolutely fuming. And it wasn't me that took her to the doctor. So yeah, I wasn't happy. And she no longer has that because I healed it for her by paying attention to her ileocecal valve. So if you have IBS, it could be as a result of an imbalance in your ileocecal valve, because you've got toxicity in your bloodstream and the rest of your body that is coming from your fecal matter. And it literally takes 20 seconds to release that emotion. Also, this 100% of the time causes sinus problems. And sometimes the body isn't connected up in the way that we think. So sinus problems, if that's being caused by an ileocecal valve imbalance, it literally, sometimes people can feel it 30 seconds later after you've released that energy. Their dripping nose has sorted itself out. It's bonkers. So that is something that is causing a lot of problems in people's bodies. IBS, sinus problems, surgeries that people don't need. That's really, really important. Really important. Right, I'm going to shut up now. So if anybody else wants to ask anything about their symptoms, I might not know the answer, but go for it if you have questions.
Hi, Jenna.
Hi.
I haven't got a question about symptoms. I just want a quick question about the book that you're referring to with regards to Louise Hay. What's the book called in? Because you said it was, and I can't remember what it was called.
Yeah, it's called You Can Heal Your Life.
You Can Heal Your Life.
You Can Heal Your Life, yeah.
Well, in that case, for everybody listening and those on the recording, found the Essential Louise Hay collection, which includes that book and two others as well. I've also put a link to a website on there, and there's also a copy of the body for people to download as well if they wish to have a look at that as well.
Yeah, it's brilliant, her list, because if it doesn't seem obvious, if it isn't something that you can take literally, um, it really helps. It really does. Uh, yeah, it's mind blowing. And I think you can just find it online, the list, if you don't want to buy the book or anything like that. Just you'll find it somewhere.
Well, there's three books that's in this collection. Is You Can Heal Your Life, Heal Your Body, and The Power Is Within You. Those are the three
Yeah,
books in this little
perfect.
collection.
Yeah, yeah, perfect. Yeah, she
Awesome lecture, Jenny. Awesome lecture, and goes back to three little things that I've always carried close to my heart. It's know thyself, love thyself, and heal thyself. And there you go. It's right along the same lines, but it's easy.
Oh yeah. Thanks, Kevin. Yeah, amazing. I mean, it takes a bit of it takes a bit of time to actually believe it as well, to believe that, we have to go to the doctor to get everything, diagnosed or whatever. And once you start to use these modalities and you feel that in your own life, there's no going back. And it's just bonkers. I mean, my doctor told me I would have chronic pain for the rest of my life when I was 39. Do you know what I mean? And, I don't have any pain anymore. I don't have any physical symptoms. And we don't need to live with all this stuff. It makes me cross, but it's just where we are in the world. Um, does anybody want to come on and ask anything?
I think part of it that why this skin bothers me doesn't bother me enough. It's just loose. But the fact that people keep saying, "Oh, Kevin, you're much too skinny now. What if you get sick? What if you get sick? You're not going to have any weight to lose." What a like a logic is that, right? So I just kind of chuckle inside and I think, yeah, okay, I feel more fit now than ever. What if I don't get sick? I'll keep that weight for nothing.
Yeah. Oh no, that's brilliant. Congratulations on losing that. That's amazing. So how did you lose weight? Did you do it through diet or exercise or healing?
Intermittent fasting and cutting back on things that are not healthy, and so
Mm.
it's diet. Uh, doing some strengthening of my muscles, and in order to heal myself from DD, what's it called? DD, degenerative disc. So I strengthen my upper body to deal with that, and so I'm strong again. But just from intuitive pondering, what can I do to try and fix this problem?
Yeah, that's perfect. Because it always works. I think intuitive pondering is a really good way of putting it. It really works because our body, it knows that we're trying to do that and it will just join in. And as soon as our bodies realize that you're engaging in a conversation, they will be there immediately. It's miraculous. I love it. Anybody else?
Hi, Jenny.
Hi.
While I have a moment, thank you very much. That all made extreme sense to me.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, so thanks a million.
Oh, brilliant. I'm glad, Jackie.
Just want to say, you give it abundance with this show. So
Yeah, and I love it. I love doing it. Oh, thanks, Jackie. I think that's the key to abundance. I think everybody needs to find out what they love to give, so that you're not giving out and, feeling sort of, what do I get? What do I get back? If we can ask, how may I serve? How may I give instead of how what will I get? How may I receive? That's the key to all of it. But if you can find a way to give that sets your soul on fire, that just makes you really happy to do, then that's the thing, that's the thing. And all these people looking for their purpose and stuff, like searching for their purpose. I think if you just ask the question, who needs me? Who needs me? So, like, what is it that you have to give? Even if you don't know, even if you don't know, maybe framing the question, who needs me, is a good way to figure out how to, you know, how to become sort of self-sustaining through giving is definitely the way. Anyway, thanks, Jackie, and thanks, Kevin. Thanks, Andy. Thank you, everybody who's come on the live. So I think I've finished. If anybody wants to come on my Telegram group and ask any questions, I've opened it up there to comments, and I'm not very techy. And I also haven't been paying much attention to social media lately, but I am going to be sort of getting back on it. So if anyone wants to come on there and ask anything, then I would love that. And obviously that will help other people as well. So thank you, everybody. And I hope you've enjoyed today. Um, I think.
Love, Jenny.
Oh,
I'll ask you more questions about those autoimmune diseases, especially because I know they're within certain areas. Those just couple areas could be causing it. So
yeah,
delve into that, ponder that for my friends as well.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks, Kevin. Thanks, everybody. I think next week, I might.
I just stopped it there on thanks, everybody.
That's all right. Yeah, no, that's right. I think next week I might do. Yeah, I'm thinking of doing. This in the spiritual community, everyone's kind of like looking at the world and watching and waiting. When is this shit show going to be over? Like all of that. I might do actually a session. I might do a healing session on that. Waiting, 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 waiting. Because I think I know the emotional root of that now. Because I've sort of been working on that because it's been coming up with clients and myself as well. I get a bit frustrated watching the world, like, come on, bring the golden age now. Yeah, I might do a session on the waiting energy. Waiting, waiting, waiting.
Okay, I'll make sure to relay that right to the throne of God. I'm gonna get Jenny.
Yeah. Anyway, I'll sit with that and see.
So you've got two groups, Jenny. Which one are you referring to? So people.
Oh, the Telegram. Yeah, because there's a chat group and when I was playing with it, I didn't know what I was doing, and I set up. Well, actually, no, I kind of did because I had to set up the chat group to open up the comments on the other group, which I found really bizarre. But that was apparently the only way of doing it. So the main group, yeah. Do you see what I mean? Yeah, I don't know why that. I don't know why that I had to do it that way. It didn't make sense to me. But anyway, whatever.
Well, you can make comments on posts that you've put up in the Jenny Luscombe Feeling is Healing channel.
Yeah.
So if you posted up a question, people can then comment. So you put here, anybody wants to know why they have a specific physical problem. Someone's commented. So, that's Jackie. So Jackie's put, hi Jenny, please include oral and foot health. So people can comment, but they're not commenting in the chat room, are they?
Yeah.
Straight into that. So.
Yeah, because I think that because I've seen Mark Atwood do that with his channel, but I think it is because I was reading a couple of other people as well saying the only way you can open up for comments underneath your posts is to have a chat group. So yeah, the chat group sometimes takes away from the main channel, but I don't think you can close down the chat group because then you'll close down the messages in the other channel. Does that make sense? It's a bit of a weird design, but anyway, whatever.
I'm sure there'll be a bot out there or something that will be able to activate comments without a chat group, but
Yeah,
it's
probably.
not something I've looked into because
No.
I jumped in and created a group which dissolves the need to have chat options because they're already built into a group, whereas a channel's just for posting generally.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm sure that I've seen it myself. I've seen channels that have comment options, but
Yeah.
they might keep the chat group private, but still allow people to then comment on the individual posts in the channel itself. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I do know it does exist. So yeah, there's a way around it somewhere.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for listening. So if you've enjoyed what you've heard here today, then please feel free to like and share and subscribe. And if you're interested in any sessions in EFT tapping, the emotion and body code, or quantum healing, then my website is www.JennyLuscombeEFT.co.uk. And if you would be interested in a course in self-healing /courses, it's called Free Therapy Forever, a crash course in sovereignty, self-healing, and self-mastery, which will change your life. Thank you, everybody.